Mann zum Rufus nicht belügen.
Hello everyone, hello world, this is Shauna with Disrupt Apps once again. And about a month ago I did a YouTube video called Installing Debian on an Old Dell Poweredge Server and failing with Ubuntu. And I did this about a month ago, and this was I think it was Debian 12, and since then Debian 13 has come online, and I want to go ahead and do a follow-up video. Okay, so to do this you'll need two things. We'll need a bootable USB drive with a image of the Debian, and we need the Debian operating system. And this will be a step-by-step guide, and I have the Rufus bootable USB drive executable that you'll need to create a bootable media. And then I have the Debian.org website where you can actually download the operating system. And so I'll do this step by step for absolute beginners out there. So the first thing that you need to do is you need to get Rufus. And I'm using Brave, so a lot of stuff is blocked. Let me go ahead and pull up Chrome so you can. So if you come to this using like Chrome and don't have any extensions that block pop-ups, don't download these. These are like spyware and stuff, and probably Trojans and crap like that. So don't download these, but what you want to do is you want to come down here to the actual latest releases, and then you will just want to click the Rufus 4.9.exe, and that will download it to see ads. But anyhow, so here we have, in the center of the screen, you can see we have the Rufus 4.9.exe. That's what you want. You don't want the garbage that's being advertised. So the next thing we need to get is we need to get the Debian. And here is on the home screen, the Debian.org. Just go ahead and hit the download. Hello everyone, this is Shauna in editing the video. And one thing I want to make clear at the start of this is if you download Debian, and if you just download the ISO, this ISO does not contain any desktop. It's not going to contain a GUI for you to see, and you're going to wind up seeing when you do the install. If you're not connected to the internet and you just download that from the page, you won't install any desktop. You'll see a black screen that's going to request some sort of username or login and password, and you're going to get stuck if you're a newbie to this stuff. And you're going to wonder, why didn't it not install? And that's because when you come to this website, you're only downloading like the bare necessities. And if you actually want to download Debian 13 that actually has a desktop environment in it, you need to come to other downloads, and then it should be over here on the right. And it'll be here, like you can see, Live GNOME, XFCE, KDE, and other live ISOs. And you can come down here and you can see on this page Debian Live 13, and it has Cinnamon and then GNOME and then KDE, and this is where you actually get it if you want to do the ISO with a desktop in it. Before you start this process, go ahead and make sure whatever device it is connected to the internet and it has a working Ethernet port. And you'll download it, the regular ISO, right? But then as you go through the installer, you'll get to this screen and you'll see a Debian desktop environment. You'll want to select that, and then you'll want to choose whichever desktop environment you want to install. And the default one is GNOME, and for this video I'm going to choose Cinnamon because I want more experience doing both GNOME and Cinnamon. I have GNOME on my other server, but I want to make you aware of this ahead of time so that if you try to install this and you're not connected to the internet and you don't see this, and then you get through it and you're stuck at a black screen that doesn't work, well, that's why. You need to make sure that your device is connected to the internet so you can install these packages. And here is the on the home screen, the Debian.org. Just go ahead and hit the download, and it should start downloading shortly. And we'll have it here in the center of the screen. Here we go. Let's go ahead and minimize that. And we can see here, next to the Rufus exe, we have our Debian 13.0.0.amd64 ISO. And you want to be sure that it's an ISO file. And let's go ahead and hover over it, right click, and we'll go to properties, and I want to see how big this is. And it's 754 megabytes. So that might expand a little bit, but and you just want to be sure that with whatever USB drive that you have, you want to make sure that it can fit that that amount of data on the flash drive. So I'm going to insert my flash drive right now, and you heard it, the system make its little system noise. And right now I have Linux Mint 22-1 on that flash drive because I installed that on one of my other videos. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to use Rufus, and Rufus is really easy, really convenient, and I like using Rufus. Sounds like a dog. Come here, Rufus. So you can see here that it's going to have up this information, right? Go ahead and organize this a little bit more. So that's the device name that was named from the previous iteration of the boot drive. My drive is Linux Mint 22.1 Cinnamon 64, and that just matches here. Alrighty, and with that it's finished, so we can go ahead and close out Rufus, and then now we have our media, our bootable flash drive with the Debian 13, and let's go ahead and eject the USB flash drive, and then now we'll go over to the server. Alright, so I'm here at my server, and I've got my media in here, and I'm going to go ahead and insert it into the front panel. And you want to be sure that you have your internet connected so you can go ahead and download the additional components that you want when you do the install. So let's go ahead, and I need to get into my boot manager, the BIOS. I need to make sure I want to boot from the flash drive. So at the splash screen, we want to go to the boot manager, which is F11, and F2 to run the system setup program. So we need to come down here to the boot settings, boot sequence, okay, hard drive, and the hard drive disk sequence. Okay, so we need to move that to the top, and to do that you use a plus and minus. So we're going to say we're going to set the front USB flash drive to be the first thing that gets reference called. Sorry, I've been programming a lot lately. That gets initiated when you boot up. So front USB flash disk. Okay, so we change that there. Hit escape, save changes, and exit. And we should be booting from the bootable media that we created. And then F1 to continue. And we'll do a graphical install. And then we'll go through these prompts, and you need to select the language that's appropriate to you, your country, and your keyboard. The Eno one is one of my Ethernet ports, and that's the one that I'm connected to the internet. And if you're not an advanced user, you need to be connected to the internet so you can actually get the you can have a graphical desktop. If you don't, and you install it just from the disk without being connected to the internet, you're going to be put to a a black old school screen where you're not going to have a GUI to work with. So I'm connected to the internet this time. So now we got to create a host name. And I'm going to obscure this because I intend to keep 13 on here. I'm just going to skip that for now. Alright, set up password. Okay, user account will be created, root. Okay, so I made my admin and user passwords, and I'm going to select my time zone, hit continue, and I'm going to let it do its thing. And I'm going to go ahead with the guided use entire disk, and you do not want to select your drive. This is my 31 gigabyte Buffalo USB flash drive that I have that has the ISO on it. You don't want to select that, so you want to partition your drive. And for whatever reason on these old Dells it says virtual disk, and that might be confusing because it's like a virtual machine, but it means the actual hard drives in the machine, because I have 4 250 gigabyte platter drives in here. So make sure you select the proper, and I'm just going to do with all files in one partition. And this is basically, I'm not going to do any RAIDs or anything right now, but you can configure encrypted volumes, and I don't want to do that right now, but I just want to go in here and make sure everything is good, and primary logic, and then finish partitioning and write changes to disk. And this is another warning page, and yes, I want to make the changes to the disk. Alrighty, so we need to find a mirror Debian archive, so we'll go ahead and hit United States, and then we'll do the Debian and Debian.org. We'll go with that, and I'm just gonna continue with that. Alright, now it's asking if you want to participate in sending data from your computer, from Debian, your operating system. It's like telemetry from like Windows, and I do not want to send my information to the developers, so no, I do not want to participate in that. Now here's something that's really important to know. If you do this setup and you're not connected to the internet, you're not going to get all of these choices. The only thing you're going to get is a standard system utilities, and that is only what comes with the ISO from the download page. And in order to get these things, the desktop environments and all the different desktops that they have, like GNOME, KDE Plasma, and Cinnamon, you have to do that later on. And if you're not connected to the internet, you won't see all this stuff. And because we're connected to the internet, you can go on here and you need to select the desktop environment, and then you can come in here and select whatever desktop you want to do. And generally Debian does GNOME, but for me I want to do Cinnamon, because I want to, on my big server here, I'm running Debian 12, and I have GNOME over there, and for me I want to get as much exposure using different desktops. So I'm going to run Cinnamon because that's what Linux Mint I believe ships with Cinnamon. You have choices, but that's the most popular. So on this old server I'm going to run Cinnamon, and but again, if you're not connected to the internet, I'll show a picture of what you'll have and what happens if you don't have the internet connected. And you'll kind of hit a brick wall unless you're a more advanced Linux user. But for me, since I'm just a aspiring power user, I'm going to go ahead and do this. So hit continue and let it do its thing. Alright, Alright, well, you're likely to come across this screen and it says install the grub bootloader. You need to make the newly installed system bootable, yada yada yada. Do not select your flash drive that you installed. You do not want to make that your bootloader or grub bootloader. You want to select your actual disk. In my case, it's that one there. And hit continue. And here we are. Installation is complete, so it's time to boot into your new system. Make sure to remove the installation media. There we go. Media removed. And we'll hit continue, and let's see if it boots into the OS, Debian 13. And I don't know if I need to go back into the BIOS to make sure the boot order is done. It probably is self-aware and it will boot into itself. And that's my experience that I've had doing this process. Okay, F1 key to continue. That's pulling up the grub loader. You can see up there at the top left hand side it says Debian Linux. And there we go. It's always a good sign. Select cinnamon. That's what up here this little icon is here. And there we go. We have a desktop. And come here, and if you're familiar, this looks very much like Mint, but it just has the Debian background, and then it has all the familiar stuff you're used to, like Firefox, and then system settings, Pigeon, terminal files, and things like that. And so the first thing I want to do is go to Alright, so come to updates. It says we are up to date. So that is how you install Debian 13 on an old Dell Poweredge server. And the reason why I'm doing these videos with installing Debian in these old servers is because I want to show what you have to do this on these old servers, because you can pick these old servers up on the cheap. Yeah, they're not the most powerful, but they're legitimate enterprise grade servers that we can use to have our own system, right? That you can run your own servers with. And sure, there's newer hardware out there and you can do that with a desktop PC, but I'm not here documenting that you can run the new 2025 Debian 13 release on really ancient hardware, so that stuff like this can get used again, right? So that's why I'm making these videos. And so I hope that you have found this video useful, and I hope it inspires you to investigate the Linux ecosystem, as well as inspire you to start running your own servers. I will see you later. Bye bye.